Hi, this is the Change and Grow Wellness Show, the show for you, the busy professional who wants to live a healthier, happier life with increased energy and productivity. I'm Jackie Grant. I'm your host. The show is powered by the amazing Men and Women Positive Program. And we've got Georgia Foster, who's a hypnotherapist specializing in alcohol reduction and emotional eating, as well as anxiety. And she's featured on Sky News and GMTV. And she is also an author. Welcome, Georgia.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. So, Georgia, it's anxiety at the moment with everything that's going on right now in terms of the coronavirus.
Mm.
And I know we're on to talk about 7 days to drink less, but let's talk a little bit about that, in terms of anxieties, how people can like kind of not feel so anxious at the moment because, today I've actually had one of my clients who actually kind of broke down when, in terms of being at home, in terms of then feeling like she's, the school, the nursery just rang, so they're shutting down. So it's all anxieties going on right now.
Well, we obviously, we are in the midst of something we just don't know about. And so, their anxiety is really more about the future as well, because it's not just about today, it's about what's
Yeah.
happening. And we can see that by the hoarding mentality that's going on. And hoarding mentality is about just trying to keep safe.
Mm,
And I think the thing is that we've all got to honor, and I know many people we're going through the same thing, but for different reasons. Some people are saying to me, Georgia, I'm really worried at the school gates. I'm worried about my business. I'm worried about my elderly parents. We've all got unusually high alert worries at the moment. So,
mm,
I want to say to people is that we will get through this. Emotional resilience is what we need right now, because
mm,
we have to trust that from this is we will be able to get through this, and band together rather than feeling disconnected. And I know that we are being feeling isolated now because we're being told to be isolated. um,
yeah.
but we need to keep ourselves strong, like emotionally strong, and do as many things that you can at home that keep you off the grid of the coronavirus and into a better space. Read positive books, do some meditation, do
Mm,
things that actually train your brain to be somewhere else rather than in
mm,
this crazy time.
mm, mm.
you know
Definitely. And I mean, at the moment, in terms of it, people are getting stressed, feeling lonely, feeling isolated. It's all those things that are going on for people at the moment, and those are really, really good ideas for people to start to do. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I specialize in is negative thinking. And what we know, me and I've been in this business a long time, is that negative thinking is driven by that inner critic. And the inner critic is very high and very vocal at the moment because people are,
Mm,
and we're picking up on the energy from other people without us even knowing about it. So,
mm,
the thing is trying to reduce that negative thinking and try and be in that calm space. And I know for a fact that at the moment, it's a big ask, and I really respect that. But we've got to try and turn this around a little bit for ourselves while we're at home. And what's interesting about being isolated is if you live on your own, or normally you have a very busy professional life, is that sometimes when we have too much thinking time, is not very helpful thinking time.
yeah.
Boredom, isolation triggers the inner critic. And
Mm,
that's just not me saying it. Any scientist will agree. So what we really need to do is band together and start to do things. We have the internet now. Before, I know it's old fashioned, but go and get that book you've been trying to read or wanting to read. Do things that
yeah.
is getting you out of that state.
Mm,
And because thinking time cannot always necessarily be helpful thinking time.
mm, yeah, definitely. We were talking about that in my WhatsApp group that I've got for the people that do my group sessions, and we were talking about things that we could be doing, and like clearing the clutter, clearing things out that we might not need anymore, and taking it down to the charity shop, or like you say, picking up that book that you've been meaning to read and just haven't got to. So yeah, it's definitely times to try and do those types of things. So
Absolutely.
thanks. Thanks for that. So let's go back to the subject in hand. We were going to talk about is, like, 7 days to drink less, and I know you wrote a book in terms of that. So um, I believe sometimes it's about thinking before the drinking. That is the problem. What do you think about that?
Yeah, nobody wants to have hangover. Most drinking is not about fun. Most drinking is about emotional conditioning, whether it's
Mm,
anxiety, which is, I mean, at the moment, people are saying to me, Georgia, all I want to do is drink because I'm at home and I'm bored, I'm anxious, I'm fearful. And what a lot of people don't know is that when we drink alcohol, the critical part of the brain shuts down. So a lot of people, it's not the alcohol, it's what it's giving them, the chemical
mm,
reactions. So I'm saying to people, if you go to your doctor and your doctor says, "Oh, you drink too much, just cut back," it's easy for the doctor to say, but it's much harder to do in reality. So
mm,
my program is my digital program, which is called 7 Days to Drink Less, is about training your mind in
mm,
7 days to deal with your life better before you drink. Because if you're using alcohol to fill that void, whether it's just at the end of the day, I've done everything for everybody else, it's my time for me kind
mm,
of thing, is that alcohol can become an emotional crutch. So I'm not saying don't drink. I am a drinker. It's about the drinking that causes you the grief, is focusing on that so that you're not, you know, um, because what we know is that when you start to drink too much, your brain gets used to it. And that's what I work on,
mm,
is with habits. And, it just becomes familiar with it. So it could be
mm,
cigarettes, it could be food, it could be exercise. But, alcohol is a big way to shut down the critical part of the brain. But the problem is, you wake in the morning and it's back with a vengeance, saying, "Why did you drink too much last night? You don't remember
yeah.
this, or you said that, or no, no." And all that anxiety triggers more drinking. So the whole
Mm,
cycle just keeps going over and over again.
mm.
That's the
And you
problem.
and the thing is that sometimes people, it is kind of emotional crutch as well, because the evening time, like we were talking about before, but the evening time is, sometimes that people get home, they just automatically subconsciously open that bottle of wine and start drinking. And it comes that you're sitting and watching telly and drinking, and it just becomes that, that crutch in the evenings that people are using as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is habit too. So, it's not, I mean, there isn't an emotional conditioning in there, but I think a lot of people signify down tools time. Now it's my time with that
Yeah.
drink. Once I have
Mm,
that drink in hand, I know that I've done my bit for the rest of the world. It could
mm,
be, I know a lot of mums say to me, "Georgia, put the kids to bed," and the first thing I think is that glass of wine. I'm like, right, I'm done. And I think, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
uh,
Um, the problem is our tolerance to alcohol increases. It's a bit like when you first of all start overeating, and then all of a sudden that one biscuit, then you recognize that you're eating four. We become more tolerant to alcohol. So then the
mm,
mind says, "Oh, we need more to get that fix." So
mm,
that's a big part of the program, is to say, I really honor that your brain thinks it's normal to drink this way, but it is actually a habit. It's not complicated. It's just a habit you can change.
mm. And you've wrote the book, and so it goes into all these areas that you're talking about. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how could someone, if they picked up your book, how could someone start to build in these new habits that you're talking?
Well, I'm very much along the neuroplasticity theory that we can change our brain. We're all
Yeah.
born with the same amount of neural pathways, but a lot of them are. A lot of people think they're hardwired, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're all adaptable to change. And
Mm,
even though I'm very pro people doing therapy, but sometimes when it comes to the drinking thing, is that, regurgitating why I'm drinking too much or whatever. I'm very much more about moving on. So a lot of the book is
Yeah.
about understanding how you can rewire your brain, to
Mm.
drink less. And the medium I use is hypnosis. With all of my programs, I've got a great program called Emotional Resilience Training, which a lot of people are really getting into at the moment for obvious reasons. But the same rule applies, that hypnosis is the tool that I use with an incredible psychology, and which is about the inner critic and how we can make that change. But we can try and worry about our drinking. We can try and make those conscious changes. But if it doesn't feel like you can seem to do that change, create that change, it's not that you can't change. You've got to go to
Mm.
the emotional part of the brain that knows to make this. And that's where hypnosis comes in, because it's such a really good, quick tool
Mm.
to harness and embrace our mind and its abilities, which is fantastic.
Mm. Okay. So if hypnosis is the most effective, then, really it should be that you're going to get some hypnosis as well as reading your book. Or is it that you,
Yeah, well, in the book there's specific areas to go into a link where you can get the recording, the hypnosis section for free.
oh,
So
brilliant.
yeah, so the book is just basically the platform
Mm.
for people to understand the psychology. I've been helping people drink less. I had two busy, clinics in London, one in Monument and one at my home in West London, and people from all walks of life. We're talking, lawyers, doctors, nurses. I mean, nurses are big drinkers statistically because they're in the coalface as we speak at this moment.
Mm.
And a lot of people who, and I'm not talking, Jackie, I'm not talking about bench drinking here. I'm talking about fully functioning
Yeah.
normal people who
Yeah.
work hard, got a demanding life, and they just use alcohol as a way to feel better or to calm down or
Yeah.
to improve their social anxieties, because a lot of
Yeah.
people drink because they're shy. All those
Yeah.
reasons why we drink too much. That's what the program is about, so that people can
Mm.
you know really honor that. I mean, the reason why I created the program and the book is because I just got so tired of people being told off for drinking too much and making them feel like a child, that there's something wrong with them. And I'm
Yeah.
saying nothing wrong with you. You're a normal
Mm.
person. You just use
Mm.
alcohol as your crutch.
Gosh.
As I
Yeah.
said, smoking's more acceptable, food's more acceptable, whatever.
Mm.
Anxiety, depression, medication. We all have
Mm.
our ways of running away from negativity and fears. It's just that alcohol is given a really bad rap, and that's why I wanted to kind of be a voice, to kind of be the person to stampede these people who just say you all belong in AA and you need to go to these meetings. I'm saying no, no,
Yeah.
no. Most people don't need to go there. They really
Yeah.
don't need to go there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No. And I mean, totally. In my past life, that's what work my job was. I was a drug and alcohol worker. So, I understand exactly where you're coming from. It is more about moving towards AANA. I mean, there is smart recovery now. Um, I don't know if you know about that in the UK,
Yeah,
which is much more of a holistic way of looking at things. But yeah, it was either that or it's abstinence, or there is not even there's not always a better way, a different way to show people. And a lot of the time, um, you know, high percentage of people that work in drug and alcohol services, plus people that were, working directly with those clients or had previous drug and alcohol um, issues, were like actually had increased, alcohol use, and that was generally to, like you say, it was the crutch. It was a way of coping with what's going on throughout the day, you know. But yeah, it wasn't particularly binge drinking. It was like, every evening. So I understand
yeah.
exactly what you're saying in terms of lawyers, doctors, nurses.
Well, I think the
Yeah.
thing is that people don't realize. I mean, I call that, the people who are in the humanity side of things, out there trying to make people feel better or support the world, known as, I call, the pleasers. They're very good at nurturing other people. And they
Yeah.
often use alcohol as a way to nurture themselves. And being a pleaser personality means you're always liked, you're regarded as somebody who you go to in times of crisis. But the problem is, a pleaser then is like, well, becomes overwhelmed with the
Mm,
energy they're giving them. If you're a caregiver, if you're in that industry where you're supporting people, then you get emotionally exhausted. So
mm,
alcohol's a really quick fix, just to sort of say, right, close the curtains, I'm done.
mm,
I think that pleasers need to honor that they're not um, responsible for everybody, and that they need to be a little bit more proactive at saying no. And I think that
mm,
a big part of the program is showing pleasers how to say no, because
mm,
pleasers notoriously get themselves into, because underpinning a pleaser is they're really worried about being rejected, so they tend to
mm,
go into nurturing roles where they feel that they can be of assistance. And I'm not meaning that in a negative way. We
mm.
need pleasers because pleasers get the job done. um,
Yeah.
it's just that, when it comes to drinking, pleasers tend to drink to escape all of that, to please
Mm,
themselves, you know.
mm, mm.
So,
Definitely.
I think that you know, we need to respect that, whatever industry you're in, is that, we're all, we know the demands of social media. We know we're on, 24/7. We're expected to be performing now in certain ways.
Yeah.
I know that when I have my first gin and tonic, which we call the home measure, gin and tonic, I always say the first glass is medicinal. It goes down, emotionally medicinal. It goes down very quickly. But the thing is that if you tend to rely on that, then when you're not drinking, you can have anxieties, and that's what I'm about. Is we need to get the anxiety and the negative thinking and the self-esteem. We need to work on all of that, because
Mm,
when you're in a better space, and that's where the emotional resilience training comes in. When you're in a space where you honor that there is only a certain amount of things you can do, you stop running yourself ragged looking after everybody else. You
mm.
sit back and say, well, this is my time for me now, and not have to have that. So I think what we need to do is stop labeling drinkers, so that they can become more, I think, just more and more, you know be say, look, I know I drink too much, but you know
Mm,
what, you don't have to quit. But the great thing is, I call it the middle ground of drinking,
mm,
is if you are worried about your drinking and you don't want to quit, which is most people,
yeah.
then there is a this program is available. It's private. The book is obviously there. You can get the ebook. You can look on the website, or
Mm,
look at the digital program. The most important thing is I am here to help, because, as I said, I just feel so, these websites that say if you think about drinking before, 12 o'clock midday, you've got a drinking problem. No, 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 you've got an anxiety problem. That's what
yeah.
you've got.
Yeah.
The drinking is the secondary thing. That's what comes
Yeah.
after the thinking. And that's why I want people
Mm,
to know you're not going mad. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just you've got yourself into a drinking rut.
mm, mm. So tell us about, someone that's had really good outcome with, using hypnosis plus using your book and, how's that work for them? It'd be great to hear.
Well, I think, because it's a very private subject, that's why I developed the online system, because I don't think anybody wants to read the book on the tube or the train.
No.
Oh, you know, and I know this is private, because I run seminars regularly in around Australia and in London about this.
Mm,
And I say to people, if you're in the audience, you will see people just like you, but
mm,
it's a subject that people don't want to talk about. And I'm
yeah.
saying, you don't need to tell people you're worried about your drinking. Just get on with it. I'm there to
Yeah.
help you and to guide you, because what we know is that when you start to worry and fester about a problem, it can exacerbate itself just because your negative thinking is just driving more negative thinking.
Mm.
I'm about saying we've got to stop this labeling, and forget the standard glass measurement, forget the units measurement. It's about getting some reduction in. I've had people like nuns have emailed me who've done the program, said, Georgia, I was drinking 2 bottles of wine a night. I've had, people in the music industry say, I can't get on stage unless I've been drinking, and this causes me to worry about
Mm.
my performance. These are the sorts
Mm.
of people who may, obviously these are kind of people who are examples of it, but just general mums at home, corporates, executives, entrepreneurs, working on their own and feeling lonely and worrying about,
Yeah.
at the moment, people trying to think about what can I do from home? How do I earn money? Oh, quick,
Yeah.
let's have a quick glass of wine and come. All the reasons why I created the program, because we're not alone. What we're thinking, the next person's thinking. It's just when
Mm.
it comes to drinking, we don't talk about it enough. So the
Yeah.
program is really about letting people know that they are fully functioning and that there is a resource to re-educate their brain to through hypnosis and psychology. And there's another personality trait is the all or nothing drinker, and that's the perfectionist. They're really good at abstaining for, like, during the week, not having any alcohol, but then on the weekend, they completely cane it.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and perfectionists are very well. You can be a pleaser and a perfectionist, but the perfectionist is the all or nothing, 100% committed to doing either or on the spectrum. But the goal is to be that middle ground drinker. And perfectionists have high anxiety, high expectations of themselves. They drink to stop being perfect because they cause themselves a lot of grief. So
Mm. Mm.
when it comes to that sort of thing, I think any perfectionists who are listening to this will resonate that it's great to be an achiever, but sometimes you can't be perfect at everything. So
Mm. Mm.
so that's kind of the main personality traits that I work with in the book and with the program. And then bringing in what I call that intuitive, healthy part, the part that knows they want to drink less. And the reason why it's not present in people's lives is because we've literally trained our brains not to be present there. So
Yeah.
the program's really about going to the prefrontal cortex, getting that part of the mind. The sages, the meditators used to say, the third eye was where we need to
Yeah.
be. And it was all like, oh, these people are hocus pocus. But now even the neuroscientists are saying they were right. They were right.
Yeah.
And I love that, because even when I first became a hypnotherapist, people would say to me, "Oh, George, that's a bit hocus." But now
Yeah.
it's a science. It's a
Yeah.
science,
It
and
is.
I love it, because I'm saying to people, well, it's not a witchy poo crafty thing. It's real, and it's been
Mm.
proven to be the most effective way at creating, new, getting the neural pathways to work in a different way to get you here to the prefrontal cortex.
Mm.
And that's a part of the book that I talk about, the neuroscience, is when we understand how the mind works, it's not a complicated chapter. It's just understanding that we all have these pathways and that they're not
Mm.
hardwired. It's such a relief to people who drink too much, thinking, I
Yeah.
can actually, or people have anxiety. The same thing with my emotional resilience training, or the weightless mind, which is about emotional eating. We're not
Mm.
hardwired. We can make that change, which is really powerful.
Mm. Mm. That's amazing. That's great. So, Georgia, what freebies, if any, have you got for my audience today?
Oh, freebies. Well, I have a great, if anybody wants to try, I have a really great program. If you want to email me at Georgia at georgiafoster.com, have a fantastic recording called A Space Between Your Thoughts, which is just to train your brain to, I mean, it's a perfect recording for now, because it'll
Mm.
just teach you, as we're all in isolation, is just to
Mm.
get your mind into a good space for 25 minutes. If you wanted to sample any of the programs I have, when you actually sample those programs, you will also automatically go into the membership site and you will get that recording in your inbox. So that's another way to get it. The most important thing is that, you know, the Dalai Lama says that if everybody meditated for 25 minutes a day, the world will be in a better place. And that's exactly what we should be doing is, you know, as I said in the beginning when we were talking, we know what we're in a time we don't know what's going to happen, but we can
Yes.
really get our mind in a better space about it. And the recording, the free recording, a space between your thoughts, will help you do that, which is great.
That's brilliant. That's great, Georgia. Where can people find you? You said about your email, but
Yeah, Georgia at georgiafoster.com, and my website is georgiafoster.com, Georgia Foster, as in the beer.com. Georgiafoster.com. And you can see all of my resources there. The 7-day program, the Weightless Mind, emotional resilience training. You can all kind of get a sample if you want, but any questions, I am really, truly here during this time. So, let me know.
brilliant. Thank you, Georgia. And what final words have you got for our listeners?
Well, you know what? Utilize this time to build new inner resources. Utilize this time to, do something to engage your mind in positive ways. As I said at the beginning, spend some time in the negative space. We all have to because that's what's going on. But allocate some time during your day, maybe every other hour. You clock in and watch a funny video. Stimulate your brain with optimism. Do things that make you feel good about yourself.
Yes,
Read that book, call that friend, watch that funny movie, get that energy, because it's been proven that getting your mind right with that oxytocin, all
that's
the
it.
lovely
Love
chemicals,
hormones.
it
Yeah,
is exactly is to the environment in your head that allows that to happen.
brilliant. Thank you, Georgia. It's been amazing. It's been really insightful and, really helpful. Definitely, with the resources that are available to everyone. And, definitely I'd say reach out to Georgia because she's there and she'll support you with whatever's going on for you right now. So take care and we'll be back with the Change and Growth Wellness Show soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.